Welcome back. Today we are tying the Czech Caddis. This is one of my favorite flies when the fish are looking for caddis and are really onto the naturals. So without any further ado, let's get started. We're going to take some black thread and we're going to start it on the hook right behind the bead and take it, and then we're going to cut off the excess material using some really sharp Renomed scissors. From there, we're going to tie in some 8-pound monofilament. Now this is what you want. You want this to be the really cheap stuff you get at Walmart or the bargain store. Don't use your good stuff on this. You're going to take the thread with the monofilament all the way back, about 3/4 of the length of the bend, just because you want this to have that nice caddisy shape. Next, we're going to tie in some thin skin, and I've cut this on an angle, and it really helps tie the thin skin in. Once you have that tied in, you can just tie down, wrap it around the thread. It doesn't need to be overly pretty because the next step is we're going to add a bunch of dubbing. So here we have some squirrel dubbing. I like squirrel. They have a lot of guard hair and makes a really buggy fly. The olive is a great color, and we're going to dub this on really thick. The reason we go on thick is we'll be able to pick some out at the end, and it'll make a really nice shape and bugginess to this fly. So get it on, and we're going to wrap it up in touching turns, trying to make a fairly similar sized body. It can be a little bit off. It's not a big deal on this fly. I needed to add a little bit more, so if you don't get it right on the first time, just add a little bit more. It's a lot easier to add more than it is to take off dubbing. So now that we got that on there, we are going to continue to wrap up to about 3/4 and leave about 4 mils between the end of the olive and the black bead. Next, we're going to add a hot spot. The hot spots are great. They add a little bit of attractiveness to the fly and kind of separate your fly a little bit from the naturals and gets the fish attention. So once again, we're going to dub this on pretty thick, and so we get that nice body size that we're looking for. So we're going to tie it right behind the olive and come up, and the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add some CDC dubbing. And I like CDC dubbing as it really fluctuates well in the water. It adds a ton of movement, and it doesn't add a bunch of bulk. So we're going to come in, add a little bit behind the bead, and then we're going to stroke down the feather, the fibers, to get a nice base for our thin skin. And I lay the thin skin over, tie it in, and with a couple wraps so you can still manipulate it, and then take a look at it. Move it around as you need to get it to set just right. Give it another securing wrap, and then we're going to take our monofilament and rivet. And I take a wrap, and then when I'm down low, now I pull tight. And if you pull tight after you've done a complete wrap, you're not going to get the thin skin twisting. And so you'll have it come over the back, which is where you want to stay, instead of twisting every time you do a rib. And I like the clear rib as I just feel like it gives a more natural, better look of the fly. So we're going to go ahead and tie that off with a couple wraps, come back in with your good scissors so you can get in nice and tight. I like the Renomeds because they're super sharp. And then you're going to give it 1 or 2 more wraps and cut off the remainder of the thin skin. Now this fly could be done here, but I'd like to add a little bit more of the CDC dubbing because it really does add a lot of movement and fishiness to the fly. It also kind of separates that thin skin from the thorax and makes it an overall good presentation. So I do 2 whip finishes for security. Come in, cut off the remainder, and you have a finished fly. I hope you give this a try, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you got any questions or comments, please don't forget to put them in the comments below, and I'll get back to you and answer as soon as I can. Thanks, everybody.